Yeah, I'm not sure those are our translators. I just would need you to identify yourself as a translator, please. Pardon us for the delay. This is just how it goes with the Zoom webinar features. You might notice that you do not have microphone access or video access as a participant. You do have access to the Q&A. So there's a Q&A feature in this type of Zoom, this webinar. So we're going to ask everyone to put any questions as we present information into that Q&A. We will do our best to answer them. If there are specific questions, that need to be answered for your student, we will answer that privately. If not, we can answer it live. We are going to be collecting all of that information for our FAQ page when we post this on our website tomorrow. So if you just excuse me, I'm trying to find something for our person who also needs captioning. And if you're joining us as a district translator, I need to have your name. Also, you have a raise hand feature. We're not going to be using that in this webinar tonight because we're asking everybody to use the Q&A, please, for any questions. I don't see any district translators on this call. That worries me. Thank you for being patient. This is just how it's been for us as we set this up and kind of venture into this new world. I think we've all been pretty versed in Zoom at this point. Zoom webinar is a new feature in Zoom that we're accessing for these large meetings. So sometimes it certainly doesn't allow us to set up things as quickly as we'd like. So your patience is super appreciated. We're going to get started with our content in a moment. Carmen and Hike, if you can identify yourself in the chat if you are our translators, since I don't have your names connected to a label for translation, if you can put that in the chat, please. I see that you've already written in the chat. If you could send us a note indicating that you are indeed our translators for the evening. Thank you, Ms. Altamira. Thank you. Thank you for letting us know. Thank you. I'm going to give it about 30 more seconds. Just so you know, on a Zoom webinar, we cannot hear any participants unless you are asking for, if you're one of our translators, it's just the function of the webinar. Thank you. We have one of our translators just signed in. Is our Spanish translator on the call, please? If you could write in the chat that you're here and let me know your name.
I am Angine, Armenian translator.
Thank you, Angine. I didn't know if anybody was here for Spanish.
Her name should be Aurora.
Thank you. Aurora, if you are a translator, if you could put something in the text because you're not coming up as a participant. If you're using another number or another device, your name is not coming up. All right, and in the interest of time, Ms. Babakani, and I sent you a text. Is there a way you can guide me through that?
Yes, let's see. I don't see it in the, I don't have that button on in the bottom of my screen either. But if you go to your setting, you should be able to. Maybe not setting.
That way. No.
Closed captioning is on.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just try one thing on your setting really quickly? Is it, do you see anything in the bottom of the screen typing?
No.
No. I think I will ask this parent to share her cell phone number and I can probably text them. Let me try.
1 second. I think I found something. All right. I'm going to go ahead in the interest of time and get started because we're running late. Ms. Babakani, and if you don't mind chatting with that parent and asking her, apologizing to her for us.
Yeah.
I will see what we can do later. So thank you for being patient. I'm Ms. Ladurante. I'm the principal here at Toll. We have our district translator here today. Her name is Angine, and we have a process for how to do this. So before I turn it over to Angine to help us in translation in Armenian, just a reminder, on this Zoom webinar feature, we are using the Q&A feature. So if you can see that, it's a little speech bubble. You can write your question and we can address that. So I'm going to have Angine introduce herself, and then we will proceed to the translation. Angine, if you could remind people about the Russian.
Yes, I know. Yes,
Thank you.
Բարի երեկո հարգելի ծնողներ, մենք սկսում ենք վեբինարը, Դոկտոր Լեդորանտեն տնօրենն է դպրոցի, Թոլ դպրոցի, եւ որպեսզի դուք լսեք հայերենով թարգմանությունը այսօրվա ժողովի, խնդրում ենք ձեր էկրանի ներքևում գտնել գլոբուսի նկարը, սեղմել եւ ընտրել ռուսերեն Russian լեզուն, որպեսզի լսեք հայերեն թարգմանությունը։
Merci. We do not have any Spanish translation tonight. I don't see them on the call. I apologize for that. If you have a question in Espanol, you can type it in the chat, and we will do in the Q&A rather, and we can do our best to help you with that. Between the three of us, we can usually figure it out. So I am going to press my magic translation button.
Let's go.
Right.
Mrs. De La Durante, your volume is a bit low.
Thank you. Are we good, Angini? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. You have been wonderfully patient, although I can't tell if you're being patient, quite frankly, because I can't see your faces. That's the fun part of a Zoom. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen with you all, and we can take a look at what we have. Thank you for using the Q&A feature. I can already see some questions there. I introduced myself and Ms. Babakanyan and Mr. Dermagradician. They're our assistant principals here at Toll. Please note that we are recording this webinar and posting it on our website, hopefully by tomorrow. An FAQ page, a frequently asked questions page, will be developed from the questions you are putting in the chat and from our two previous meetings that we had today and yesterday. So we will have that resource available for you there. Our website is right there. We are going to be looking at our website during this meeting. So a few notes to mark your calendars. Friday, August 14th at 11 a.m., that's tomorrow, is our new Titan student orientation. I just sent an email out that you should receive. Maybe it already went. I think it went at 6 o'clock. It should be in your inboxes. New students can log in at 11. Returning students can log in at 2. So make sure if your student is available to log in, they can do that. Students can be on this call as well. We're not sharing any secrets that we wouldn't be sharing with them. It's just sometimes a lot of that this presentation is geared toward adults and parents. So, but they're welcome to listen. First day of school is Wednesday, August 19th. That's next Wednesday. And our instructional materials pick up. So if you have questions about books and all sorts of other things that your student will be picking up, they will be picking up the week of August 24th. That will be organized with social distancing in mind. We are going to send that schedule out in our Sunday call this weekend, and we'll continue to send out reminders and post that schedule on our website. So go ahead and look for this. So our goals for today's meeting, we're going to introduce you a little bit to what it's like to be a Toll Titan, a little bit about Parent Connect and how important that is all the time in middle school, but most importantly during distance learning. Look at what distance learning is going to look like for your child. Talk about our Titans Learn, Connect, and Engage initiative and how we're going to be doing all three of those things for your student, as well as talk about our Verizon Innovative Learning School program to support your child's learning. I can see some people have raised hands. We are not using the raised hand feature in this webinar. We are using the Q&A, the question and answer feature. So if you do have a question, please type it into the Q&A feature. It looks like a speech bubble. So that is the most efficient way for us to really manage your questions during a webinar. So let's continue on. So our Toll team, myself, I'm the principal here, as I mentioned at the top of the webinar. This is starting my second year as principal here at Toll. Previous 5 years, I was the assistant principal, but I also was a teacher at Toll and a teacher specialist here. So my roots go pretty deep here. Majority of my educational career has been at Toll. So I feel like I know the school well, and I'm super proud. It's a huge honor to be able to be the principal. I can still remember my interview here in January of 2002 to be a fill-in, a long-term sub for a history teacher. So it's a huge honor for me. And I can get very emotional at times. I will not cry on this webinar, but I get very emotional thinking about all that has happened to me over almost 20 years in my educational career and how exciting it is to be the principal here. I'm joined by Ms. Babakanian and Mr. Dermagadichian. They are both starting their second year as assistant principals here. Mr. D was an AP at Wilson, but he joined us last year and has really changed from his knight to a titan. We're always happy to have him here. Both of them work very diligently to support our students, teachers, and staff, and of course our families. You can see on the screen that Miss Babakanian is the assistant principal assigned for 8th grade and for 6th graders with the last name of A through K. Mr. D is the assistant principal assigned for 7th grade and 6th graders L through Z. They continue with the same group of students. So if this is your second year at Toll and you went from 7th to 8th grade, Miss Babakanian travels up with those students. In 6th grade, just because we only have 2 assistant principals, we split them up by alphabet. So you can see below them are our counselor names. Laura Castagnari is our head counselor. She is pairs with Miss Babakanian with the 8th graders and the 6th graders A through K. Miss Hagpana pairs with Mr. D and is the counselor for 7th grade and 6th grade L through Z. So if you are so inclined to take a picture of this screen, please go right ahead. This information is also on our website, and we're going to go through a little bit of our website, but we have that for you too. We don't expect you to commit this to memory. Our team is not complete without a few other support staff. We have Miss Johnson, who is our teacher specialist. If you come from another Glendale unified school, you know a teacher specialist functions in support of English language learners. They also support testing and which includes state testing, testing for our English language learners, testing across the board, and she also manages our GATE programs. At the middle school, we don't have a really extensive GATE program simply because we are moving into more content level advanced courses that are for GATE students, but also for students who do not have a GATE identification, since we have multiple ways of qualifying for those advanced classes. So GATE becomes very different and a little bit minimized at the middle school level, just by design, as we're trying to open up classes a little bit more for students who have shown proficiency in a lot of ways. Ms. Takhtalian is our school psychologist. She, of course, supports our students and families, students with IEPs, and also the special education teachers we have on staff here. Just like any school, we are nothing without our clerical staff. You can see lots of names listed here. With the exception of Ms. Brotman, all of our support staff are bilingual, either Spanish-English or Armenian and English, so you can get support in our 2 main languages when you call Toll. Ms. Barantes is our school secretary, affectionately known as Miss Lily. If you hear that, she runs the place. Ms. Vallejos is our front office person. If you've called Toll, she is the person you've most likely spoken to. She knows a lot about Parent Connect and getting you ready and logged on for school. Ms. Adamian is our registrar in the counseling office. If you have a question about enrollment or permits or re-enrollment or anything regarding transcripts, she is the person who supports our families with that. We have a registered nurse that we share with Keppel and with Hoover, but she supports our students on campus and supports our licensed vocational nurse, Ms. Cardona. Ms. Brotman is our librarian, and Ms. Megerden is our ASB clerk. Ms. Megerden supports our ASB funds and helps us pay the bills when we have to get a bus for a field trip or take care of PE clothes and all the stuff that we aren't doing quite so much in the first 10 weeks of school this year, but hopefully we'll be back together soon, and she will be put to work in that area that she loves so much. So one of the things that makes Toll so special is our cores. We are the only middle school in Glendale with a core system, and here's what a core is. It is comprised of 3 to 4 teachers, a history, a English, and a science teacher. Those 3 teachers collaborate on lessons, they collaborate on parent communication, they collaborate on setting expectations for their students. So those 3 teachers have anywhere from between 150 to 180 students assigned to them throughout their classes all day, and they work together to support them. Our cores are very much a cross-section of who we have here at Toll. We have English language learners in all of our cores. We have students with IEPs and students with 504 plans in our cores. We have advanced students in those cores, and we have students across the board in every single core. So we don't have a core that's advanced. We don't have a core that is for students who are English language learners. They're integrated throughout. We prioritize students having exposure to all different kinds of learners. We don't want people to be clustered into groups of kids who are just like them. We want our students to be exposed to kids who learn differently and who have different challenges and who can provide modeling for them, and also just an experience of learning next to somebody who does it just a little bit different than you do. Cores are also a great way for students to connect with their teachers and their classmates. Something we learned very deeply in the spring is that our cores became a central focus area for community building and for connecting with students and families, because they became a common bonding space. We had a lot of our cores, who did contests within the core, sent prizes home. We had one core that delivered in and out lunches to winners. We had a lot of things happening that happened predominantly because of that core connection. In talking to other principals in other middle schools in Glendale, that is something that they've recognized as well as something that was really beneficial to us during distance learning. So your student is going to find out about how they're going to find out about how important their core is next week. I can only do so much justice. It's the teachers who really drive the core. Core-based communication as well becomes simpler, because as a parent, you might be communicating in one email to 3 teachers as opposed to 3 different emails and trying to keep track of that. So you will soon find out your core. So someone is asking a question about individual student schedules. You received an email at 6 o'clock. Those go live at 8 a.m. tomorrow. So students can see their schedule and parents can see their schedule for the year. Unfortunately, in Q and Parent and Student Connect, you can't see your core. There's no way for us to give that information. So I can show you a way to see that online in our counseling page. We have our cores listed there. We're also going to include that information in our student orientation tomorrow. The different cores we have at Toll, we have 3 cores per grade level. You can see their names listed there. Again, the names are kind of silly, but they're a good way to have like another layer of identity for our middle school students. I have a middle schooler at home as well, so I feel you. I got an 8th grade son at home who started school today in his district, and I have a 1st grader at home. My 8th grader in middle school, I think, is having that unique but very common experience to middle school. Someone trying to find their identity, someone trying to find who they are. Are they in band? Are they someone who loves music? Are they someone who loves cooking? Are they someone who loves school and wants to be academically driven? Are they more social? Are they artists? Are they creators? Are they actors? Middle school is that time for everyone to kind of embrace those different sides of themselves and do that exploration. But some kids just are having a hard time finding where they fit in. These cores provide that other identity piece. So when everyone's trying to figure out where's my place at Toll, the one thing they know is, we always say, they're Titans first, and then they're their core second. So they have that community piece. We know a lot of kids are looking for that connection, and this is one place that we can offer it to them. So another factor about Toll is we have 2 wonderful parent organizations. We have our PTA and our foundation. Our PTA is quite strong. Our president of our PTA is Lorna Amirians. She is a mother of an 8th grader, and she worked diligently last year with a whole crew of other parents to really support us here at Toll, to support our students, to support our staff, and to support just about everything we were doing. If we ever needed something, we turned to PTA, we turned to our foundation. They were always right behind us. So our PTA does a variety of things for us. This is just a taste of what they did for us last year. Everything from assemblies to a reflection ceremony. Reflections is the annual art contest that's held at all PTAs statewide. We Toll had the most students, had the most honored students in the reflections contest last year. We had the most winners. We were super proud of that. They supported our teachers with classroom supplies. They supported our athletes. Our girls soccer team got outfitted with new uniforms, sorely needed new uniforms, soccer balls and equipment, other equipment. We have one water bottle filling station here. PTA supported the installation of 3 additional water bottle filling stations on campus. I can't wait till we're back on campus again so that students can use their water bottles and get them filled up with cold water. I know it makes me a little more diligent about getting my water fixed every day. And also, once again, our PTA really making Toll on the map by sponsoring some district-wide mental health seminars. They did one in the spring, one coming up on August 27th. So really proud of the work they do to support students both here and during distance learning. Our PTA, a couple ways to join. You can do that online. It's a $10 membership per family. All those funds go towards supporting our activities here at Toll. You have Lerna's email there. You also have a link to how to sign up. Our Facebook, we have a PTA page through Facebook if you would like to join there. Both PTA and Foundation have strong presence on our Toll website. So if you go to the parent tab there, you can kind of get this information living permanently for your reference. Our foundation, if you come to us from Keppel, if you come to us from Franklin, you know how foundations work. Foundations work alongside PTAs to support school activities. They just don't have as many restrictions as a PTA does. PTA is also a lobbying organization, so they support students and families both on the state and national level. A foundation is just ours alone. So foundation supports our premier fundraising event, which is the Dash of the Titans. We are going to look at how to do our virtual dash this year. That usually happens in October. The foundation also has an annual fund for people to donate, for businesses to sponsor us, and for us to get support through a variety of ways. We always have great ways to spend money on our students, and the foundation supports us in that. They also support us in supporting our teachers. So if a teacher needs something specific for a classroom that our school budgets don't allow for us to purchase, the foundation is a great resource for us to enhance our classrooms and to allow teachers those enhancements for their instruction. So Foundation invites you to join them. You can see their link on this slide, again, under the parent section on our website. Foundation supports a lot of student activities that we do when we're on campus. And if we have to do so, we will do it during distance learning as well. Everything from theme days, Greek day for 6th graders, Renaissance day for our 7th graders, and all sorts of enrichment, library books, incentives for our positive behavior intervention supports, campus beautifications, you name it, they're there to support. So as we move into this first 10 weeks of distance learning, the foundation is looking for really innovative ways to support our clubs and special interest groups on campus. So please check out their website for more information. Before I get into Parent Connect, Ms. Babakani and Mr. D, anything I should attend to?
The majority of the questions have been regarding Chromebooks and if they have to get a Chromebook if they already have a device, and also about their schedules and how they can know what course their students are in.
Right. Okay, so just a reminder, schedules go live at 8 a.m. tomorrow. You should have an email in your inbox regarding that, as well as some information on our student orientations tomorrow, the Zoom information for that. Our cores, once again, if you look on Student or Parent Connect tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, you will see teacher names, but you don't necessarily have the core information. We tried to get that added, and we could not add that piece of information into Student or Parent Connect. But Ms. Castagnari and Ms. Hagpana, our 2 counselors, worked to create a reference page on the counseling section of our website. We are going to go over that with our students tomorrow so they know what core they are in. Thank you for reminding me about my volume. We've had issues with Zoom the last 2 days because whenever it switches speakers, it doesn't like me when it comes back to me. So thank you for that reminder. I hope that's a little bit better. Can I get a thumbs up, Mr. D, Miss B, if that's a better volume? No. Miss Babakanyan says no, but Angine says yes. Okay.
No.
Still low. Okay, I am moving my microphone and I am going to start raising my voice. So thank you guys. I need those reminders because I can't hear myself when I'm on Zoom. So I need you to remind me if you can't hear me. Schedules live tomorrow at 8 a.m. In the email, you have that information. If you still need to log on to Parent Connect and you don't know how, please give us a call. We're answering phones from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. here at Toll. But know that it's the same Parent Connect that you had access to last year. So if you just need to reset a password, it allows you to do that. Just like any other website where you forget a password and you reset it, you can do that if you log in. One tip about Parent Connect before I turn it over to Ms. Babakanyan is make sure that you're accessing it from our Toll page if you don't have it saved already on your bookmarks on your browser. So use the Toll page. In the upper right hand corner, it has two buttons, Student Connect, Parent Connect. That's the best way to get in there. Still low. I am so sorry. Great. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Babakanyan. She's going to talk about Parent Connect. Ms. Babakanyan is a GUSD parent as well, so she's she's quite able to answer your questions and address this issue for us.
So, thank you so much, Ms. Stella Durante. Your voice was really good towards the end.
Thank you.
So hello, everyone. My name is Annette Babakanyan, and you might have felt like I'm not looking at the screen and I'm texting this entire time. One of our parents is having a hard time with the audio, and I had to text most of the information, so I apologize for that. So one of the things that I would like to talk about is the Parent Connect, which is the tool for you to remain connected. It is extremely important that you use this tool and make sure the documents that are on this link at the top of this page that you see, all those documents are accurate. Your information is correct on that document. As you go through the documents, you will notice that the most important thing that has a huge impact on the student success is their attendance. And I'd like to tell you that as I speak, I still send the text to the parents, so just be patient with me. In Parent Connect, you can click on teacher's name, and that link that can directly take you to their email. It will help you communicate and remain connected with the teacher. Parent Connect also allows us to have updated information about your child's health and immunization records, state test scores, grades, promotion requirements, as well as how close they are to meet the requirements for promotion. Next slide. Yeah, so as Ms. De La Durante already mentioned, the schedules will be available tomorrow, August 14th. And please be noted that the schedule change will not be an option. Thank you so much. And
so we want to go over the expectations for distance learning. As we all know, once COVID started and we had to go remote and away from coming to school physically, everybody had to scramble. Everyone had to adapt, be it the students, the teachers. So there was really no nothing structured in place as to how instruction was going to happen, how the students were going to get supported. So it was basically a situation where everyone had to basically adapt to the situation. But since then, our legislative body have passed a couple of bills, Assembly Bill 77 and Senate Bill 98, which kind of gives us clearer guidelines for remote learning. which we are going to implement starting next week and these first 10.5 weeks of school, or until we get back to school physically. So some of the main highlights are that we're going to maintain 180 days of instruction. So that would be just like a regular school year if the students were here and on campus. We need to make sure that all of our students have devices and are connected to the internet, and that problem is solved because of the Verizon grant that Ms. De La Durante will talk about later. The content that's going to be delivered is standards-based, very high quality. There's no watering down or anything like that. So it's going to be just like as in regular classrooms if the students were here physically. The students are going to have a live interaction on a daily basis with their teachers, and teachers will regularly communicate with parents. And parents, we also need you to reach out to teachers if you have any kind of questions or concerns. They're there to answer any type of question you have. We're going to track attendance and class participation, definitely. And teachers are going to monitor students' progress, provide feedback to them, to you. So you'll know how they're doing in this remote learning platform. I mean, it's very important that everybody's on the same page. And what's going to be different, in the fall versus the spring is that we're going to have grades based on student performance. Grades in the spring were credit, no credit, but now we are going back to a standard situation where students will get A, B, C, D, F grade and their citizenship grades based on how they do in the remote learning platform, and their individual teachers will give them the details as to how grading is going to work in their classroom. So also part of the expectations is that we are going to provide, designated classes and support for our English language learners. There are also going to be interventions for students who are not meeting grade level standards. So just like how we would have tutoring sessions and things of that nature to kind of work with students who need that extra help, we're going to try to simulate that during this remote learning platform. And then also students who have IEPs, their goals are going to be addressed based on whatever goals they have in their IEPs. So to the best of the ability of the teachers and the situation we're in. And if you have any questions regarding special ed, you can contact our special ed office.
Thank you, Mr. D.
And part of our schedule in the fall is we're going to have live synchronous sessions in whole group and small group settings. What that means is there's going to be real-time teaching. For example, every day a teacher and the students will all be together during a live kind of a situation where the teacher is going to be teaching or whatever it is that they decide on doing that day. But everyone's going to be live, so that's synchronous. That's going to happen on a daily basis. There's also asynchronous learning, which means teachers will give activities for students to do independently, on their own time and at their own pace. And there is a predictable schedule now, and Ms. De La Durante will share the schedule with you that was just basically agreed upon today. So, Ms. De La Durante?
Yep, I'm ready. Thanks. You can see that while we're on the Zoom, Ms. Babakanian is trying to do some tech support. I'm doing tech support. We're actually joined right now by our Spanish translator, Aurora. Aurora, if you can, I'm going to unmute you. And if you can introduce yourself and talk about your services here, please.
Muy buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Aurora Rosas y voy a servirles de intérprete esta noche. En unos minutos le voy a ayudar a ser su intérprete en español.
Okay. So I need to, hold on. Aurora, I'm not sure I can send people to you for closed captioning for translation services when I'm mid-meeting. I don't have that option.
Ms. De Laurenti, I need to get the English and Spanish so I can click.
Okay, I can't help you midstream. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay. So there's a bunch of questions in the chat. So Mr. D, I think you're getting on that, right? Yeah, they're coming.
Yes.
Great, thank you. So if you have a question in the Q&A, if you can we are answering them as we get them. So this just got, you may have received an email from Dr. Ekchian today. This was just finalized in our agreement with our teachers union and the district. So you can see this is the schedule for next week only, our welcome week. So school starts Wednesday, August the 19th. You will see that the day starts at 9 o'clock. The students will see their first and second period, which you will of course know tomorrow. When you look in Student or Parent Connect, the schedule will be doing both. They will see their teachers for 30 minutes. The purpose of this quick check-in is to build some connections, to introduce routines, to make sure tech is working, and make sure everyone is up and running and able to access. So that's the purpose of these short check-ins from 9 o'clock to 10:15 with 2 different teachers. So from 10:30 to 3:15, our teachers are going to be in more training. We want to take advantage as much as possible of them getting trained up and using this time next week to do so. So from 10:30 to about 12:30, your students are going to be participating in some large group learning sessions led by a counselor, led by one of our assistant principals, led by one of our psychologists, our specialist, and our tech leader, our tech coach, Mr. Sanchez. So your student is not going to be done learning at 10:15. They're going to be going through to the online synchronous time would be through about 12:30. You're going to get some more details on that on Sunday. We just got this finalized today, so we wanted to make sure at least give you a little taste, but the details are for that time between 10:15 and 12:30. We are working those out, so we're going to release those this weekend in our call and in my email. And we will be sending you lots of emails in the next few weeks to keep track of, but we're going to try and keep them very specific information so that you don't get lost in the details. I know I get lost in the details with my students' emails, and I'm working in education. So, so my kids, sometimes I have to take a moment and separate my work brain from my parent brain. And I know it's hard for all of us to keep these details, especially if you have multiple kids that you're trying to manage schedules for. So Wednesday and Thursday look the same, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. You'll see that by the time they are done at 10:15 on Friday, they will have met all of their teachers. If you have a student who's in a 0 period, they will meet their 0 period PE teacher at 8 o'clock on Friday. You will notice that all of these, let me go back. You will notice that, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, you guys are my second one today. You'll notice that the time periods are the same. The kids will have to travel from each class period in the mornings all 3 days. 0 period, you meet from 8 o'clock. This will mimic the next schedule that I'm going to introduce you to, which is, ta-da, we got a schedule today, and it's posted on the district website, and it is here for us to review. So this is us. This is Toll. We are a 6 period, so this is what starts on August 24th, that full week. So, so next week is just that little modified schedule that I showed you. We are also going to put that on our website. This is the schedule starting August 24th. This is what's called a block schedule. The daily instructional minutes you can see are listed at the top. We do not have a 7th period. So when you see that reference to a 7th period, don't worry about it. That's Clark and that's Roosevelt. We are a 6 period day with the exception of those students who choose to take 0 period PE. So you'll see Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, students are in blocks. Now I will tell you, my 8th grade son at home, this is how he goes to school all the time, whether he's on campus or distance learning. Students acclimate to this very, very quickly. It is the adults, including this mother right here, who sometimes has a hard time remembering, is it an odd day or is it an even day? So you'll get that language will be very much in your household for will be very much in your household on August 24th. That week, you're going to start to talk in that odd or even day. So our zero period students meet at 8 o'clock, which is an hour later than we usually do when we're on campus. Yay, zero period. You will notice that the zero period meets every day, the 4 days, and I'll talk about Wednesdays separately. Zero period meets 4 days a week. That is because their period is shorter. It's a 50-minute period. And you will see that there's 20 minutes of live interaction per student in that 50 minutes. That means that the teacher, like Mr. D talked about, synchronous learning, they're live, they're online, and they're engaging with their students in real time. As we get into the majority of our students' schedule, which is periods 1 through 6, you can see that Monday and Thursday are the odd days. So their odd periods are meeting then. Tuesday and Friday are the even periods, 2, 4, and 6. The bell schedule is the same. It's just what period they're in for the first chunk, the second chunk, the lunch, and then after lunch. Periods are 80 minutes. So the 30 minutes within that 80-minute period is going to be live interaction with students. That is the minimum. You might have a teacher who goes over that on Sundays. You might have a teacher who goes over that regularly, but they're going to set those expectations with students. But you will see 30 minutes per student in each period from their teacher, live interaction, which is great. You'll see that lunch is much longer than it typically is on campus. We have accommodated students and families who need to come pick up lunch at a school site. So you have 70 minutes to run and do that and then come back. So that's why lunch is a little bit longer, and we call it a health and wellness mindfulness. So that's a break for your student. I know, and many of you probably do know if you're doing this for work, to sit in front of a computer and absorb information for more than an hour can be draining. So we want to make sure students have that reset for 70 minutes in the middle of the day. So you will see in between each period, there is a 10-minute passing period. So if we were on campus, we'd be moving class to class, but that's a time for your child to reset and get ready for the next period. We have 1 period after lunch, and then the periods end at 2:20 every day. The time between 2:20 and 3:15 for those 4 days a week will be time for students to meet in small groups with their teachers. So if the students need to have a small group with their teacher, they can do it there. There can be independent work, projects, clubs. I imagine many of our teachers like to do book clubs. Maybe that's an opportunity for a book club to meet, but it is a nice space for students to be able to connect with each other differently. And we are hoping to have clubs meet at that time as well. So I'm going to go to Wednesdays. Is there anything in the Q&A that is relevant for the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday schedule?
Sorry, Ms. D, is there any way that you can add the third shunt here on this screen as for the interpreter?
I can't add the interpretation mid-screen, mid-meeting.
Okay.
Sorry, I tried. Any questions in the chat that I should attend to while we're talking about those 4 day a week, that 4 day a week block schedule?
No.
Okay, great.
Nothing specific.
Great. So, so you can look at the Wednesday as a minimum day. So if you're a returning toll parent, you know that Wednesdays are our banking days. So other sites have Fridays. So kind of excited that we get to keep our Wednesdays because we're already in that groove. So you can see that teacher office hours are the first block of the day on Wednesday. Those office hours are for students to check in and to ask questions, but they're also for parents as well. So you'll be able to check in with the teacher. They'll be just have an open office hour and you can ask some questions and such. It is not a time necessarily for a formal parent conference. If you need a parent conference, that's something that teachers can engage with differently. But that is just an open time for teachers to be available for you and to be available for their students. So it gets a little confusing on Wednesday, but I'm sure by Wednesday number 2, we're going to have this down pat. Remember, this schedule starts the week of August 24th. So the students interact, you can see alternating weeks. So it's a 50-minute period, 3 periods before lunch, and it's 30 minutes per student. So when we say 30 minutes per student, we're not saying 30 minutes individually. If a teacher does 30 minutes of instruction with all the students in one group, that's 30 minutes for all the students. It's not 30 minutes individually for each kid, but if they're in one group, 30 minutes together, that's what that indicates. So we have 30 minutes. Again, that minimum holds true even for Wednesdays, which is our banking day. But you can see that the students are finished with instruction by 11:50. There is time after lunch for some clubs and such. But you can see that their instructional day with that direct instruction, that synchronous instruction, ends at 11:50. There will be some activities on Wednesday afternoons as we get up and running to have that time for students to connect and engage. But I know a lot of teachers are going to use that time for online practice, for homework, for a project, for collaboration. So the students will have some things to do on Wednesday afternoons. It's also a really nice time for students who have counseling services, or if they need to meet with their counselor, this is the time for us to log in and do that. Teachers will be communicating their office hours. Our teachers are updating their website and their communications with you. We are asking our teachers to do weekly schedules to parents via email. So hopefully you'll be getting those. Again, our cores can send those, but your teachers will be posting that information for you once schedules are live and we're up and running next week. Right. We're still getting our heads, this just got publicized today, so we're still getting our heads around what it's going to look like as we alternate weeks, but it's just about communication and making sure that our students know where they have to be when. A tip, my students started, my kids, like my 1st grader and my 8th grader at home started school this morning, and for my 8th grader, we realized that he didn't have a bell to remind him to go to period 2. So if his first period was finished, he would have to have some sort of way to get him back on after that 10-minute passing period, if you will, the period between period 1 and the next one. So we have his alarm clock. You can set a timer on if they have a phone, if they have an iPad, setting a timer on their device that they're using for school. All of those things, it's one of those little tips that we'll kind of play with and make sure to make sure that students are engaged and on time. Okay. So any other questions about the schedule? Again, we're just getting our heads around it. Again, this starts the week of the 24th. This schedule is posted on the GUSD website. It just was posted a few minutes before going live on this webinar, so I'm not sure if it's on our TOL website, but further into this presentation, we'll go onto our TOL website and we'll be able to see if it's there for reference. Okay. I'm going to go to the next slide. Citizenship marks. This is something that Mr. D talked about, was through our California state legislation, had mandated that the practice in the spring that we had, which again was emergency teaching, emergency learning, when students were getting credit, no credit for their classes, we have shifted back to our traditional grading scale, which is a letter scale, A, B, C, D, F. If you're coming to us from an elementary school, you're used to the numerical scale, the 4, 3, 2, 1. We convert to letter scale. So percentages for what constitutes or what makes an A, a B, a C, a D, or an F are determined by the teacher. You will get that information when your teachers meet their students next week. Okay. And you also see we do citizenship and work habit grades. Those are O, S, and U. Those how to achieve an O, an S, an N, and U will also be communicated by the teacher. They are going to be including that in their expectations for your students. But that's what grades will look like this year. Anything? It doesn't look like there's anything. I'm kind of keeping my eye on the Q&A. Something as we worked with our teachers this year and talked about what we wanted, how we wanted to start our year, these 4 words came to mind: patience, courage, compassion, and resilience. I would also add grace to this, something that a lot of us are really working to give each other as we're learning this new way of doing school. Providing grace for ourselves, for our kids, for our teachers, as we're navigating something that, let's be clear, no one signed up to be in school during a pandemic, right? So we want to make sure that we are allowing ourselves all of those things for each other, for our kids, for our families, and for our teachers as we start this new venture. Keep in mind, every teacher is starting from a different level of technological experience. I was really proud of a lot of our teachers in the spring. Some teachers who never use technology in the classroom, if you think about like a PE teacher who uses very minimal technology, our PE teachers learn very quickly on how to do things online. So we have expectations for our teachers no matter what, but just like with anything, with you perhaps in your workspace or you engaging with this information right now, we all come at it with a different set of experiences and a different set of information. I know when talking to my husband, who is not in education, he just looks at me and doesn't know any of these apps. He doesn't know any of this how to manage this learning. He has to learn too. And so we are going to provide you as the parent with the patience and the grace and the courage and the resilience and the persistence and the compassion to learn this new way of doing, just like we would hope you would return the favor for us. You all were very patient. You saw me struggle with some stuff at the start of the Zoom. We're still learning how to do this together, but the more we can just sit back and let people figure it out and give them the space to do it, the better off we're going to be in the end. So every teacher is experimenting, but what we do know from our experience in the spring is the more we can establish consistent routines, the better our students are going to be. I know as a parent, if I'm helping my student manage online learning, a routine makes it so much easier for all of us. All of you have raised kids. You know, in the early years, having the routine, the nap schedule, the sleep schedule, the feeding schedule, how important all those things are to providing some normalcy in your house when you're in a new experience. Our kids still need routine. I need routine. I love my routine. Teachers love routine. They pretty much, most teachers, they kind of have that personality where routine kind of feeds them and keeps them going day to day. So while some people might find it dull to have a routine, we know that in uncertain times and certainly in the new learning experiences, routines can be our friend. So having that grace for a teacher who's going to try that good footing to set that routine, if they need to switch things up, they're going to communicate that to you. And communication is key. Ms. Babakanian talked about Parent Connect. It is critical that we have the correct email for you and the correct phone number for you. I send out a weekly email, a Titan Weekly that has a lot of information in it. That goes out on Sunday evenings. I do a Sunday call as well. That goes around 5:30 or 6 o'clock on a Sunday. Please make sure we have correct information for you. We can't get that information out to you if we don't have the right email. Also, if you're using a work email, make sure your filters, your blocks aren't up because we might end up in your spam folder. So if you need to check your spam folder, I sent out an email, the first email of the year. I sent out 2 weeks ago. I did a call this past Sunday as well. So those things will come in tandem. But that communication from the school itself is important for you to receive and also for teachers. We pull all that information from Q, from Parent Connect. Any of the data is in there. That's what our system uses to send an email to you. So make sure that is correct and make sure it's an email you have access to. Once again, as you're doing your re-enrollment and going in and checking all those boxes and making sure the information is correct, make sure that email is correct as well. So we're going to move on. We have some basic tools. We had a team of teachers working the last few weeks to kind of figure out what did you need? What did our families need to make this distance learning more successful for them? And they boiled it down to 4 basic tools. You will see your other students doing, you will see some of your students using other apps and programs, but these are the 4 basic ones that across the board, every teacher is going to be using. So I'm going to turn it back over to Ms. Babakanian. Ms. Babakanian, do you need me to take this since you're doing double duty for that parent, or are you good?
Oh my God, I was just texting you to say, carry on. Please do.
Flexibility and grace and all that good stuff.
Thank you.
Sure. So So the basic four, the first one is Google Classroom. This is the virtual classroom. This is, instead of walking into a room with desks, this is the room your students are walking into every day in their periods 1 through 6. This is their Google Classroom. This is the main platforms that teachers are going to use to communicate lessons, to post assignments, give updates, give feedback, and put resources in. So as a parent, I know that learning Google Classroom, for me, I will admit, was a little easier because this is what I do. This is where I work. But I tried not to laugh at my husband, but I did, as he tried to manage Google Classroom and understanding the language behind it. So we know that you need to learn how to use this very important tool. So what the middle school, all the middle school principals got together and decided to co-host a Google Classroom training for you to do this. It's going to have translation. It's going to be featured. They're going to record it and have it videoed access for you in case you forget what you learned, because all of us need those reminders. So it's going to be next Thursday at 9 a.m. and at 6 p.m. Our district leadership, our district tech is going to be leading that training. And hopefully you're going to learn a lot about how to utilize Google Classroom better so that you can support your students. One thing from a Google Classroom parent to another, make sure you're signing up. It's going to walk you through how to sign up for those updates every week so that you can know what your student is turning in, and also to anticipate what the teacher is going to be assigning that week. That is critical. I get mine weekly for my son, and it becomes the Sunday night conversation about what was turned in and what wasn't turned in. So because the principal's son, come on, not the best student. You know, he doesn't keep, he's a boy. Who's got a boy? You know how this rolls. So always having to keep making sure we're keeping tabs and supporting him as he goes is super important. And that email is critical because it gives me a list of things to talk to him about. So that training, this information's on our website. It's also in the Titan Weekly, which is our email newsletter that you have in your inbox. It'll be waiting for you on Sunday. If you still have mine from Sunday, this past Sunday, this flyer is in there as well. It's also on our website. The next piece is the grade book, if you will. So students use Google Classroom as their classroom to walk into, their virtual classroom. The grade Q becomes the grade book. So all of our teachers are going to be using Q as their grade book this year. So you'll be able to see assignments and scores. You'll be able to see what's missing, what's not. There's a way for us to connect Google Classroom to Q so that those assignments flow. We're going to set that up next week. I'm going to talk to some teachers. As someone who's never managed those two platforms, I need to ask my teachers to teach me so that we can communicate that with you. But make sure you are checking that parent portal. Something to know about parent portal or parent connect, it kind of gets used, those two terms get used interchangeably, is it's kind of like going on a diet. If you're on a diet, you can't weigh yourself every day because you're not going to get the progress you want, right? You've worked really hard, you know, and you're going to only see that you've lost like half a pound. I mean, who wants to see that? But if you weigh yourself every week, you start to see progress. Q student and parent portals the same way. As students do work, their grade gets affected slowly. It's that long-term effect of multiple assignments where you're going to see the effect in the final grade. So just kind of remember that for yourself. It's not something we want to check obsessively. I know a good strategy is for parents, families to set up one time a week where you're checking Q together. So you're not necessarily having those, if you have to have those tough conversations, you're not having them every day. You're setting aside time to have them maybe once or twice a week. So you're supporting your student, kind of reduces that tension in your household if you don't have to have those conversations day to day to day. Can you tell I speak from experience? Mr. D, do you want to take it from here with Gmail?
Sure. We have some exciting news for our middle schoolers this year. This used to be only a high school feature, but now our students can have access to an email using their, at sdu.gusd.net account. So that means that, there is going to be like a clear line of communication between, student and teacher. One of the important pieces is the whole feedback piece, that the teachers need to give to students. And if students have any questions, they can contact the teacher. So this is one way, this will serve as one way to have that direct line of communication with the teachers, where students can email them directly, and vice versa with the teachers. And the good thing about this feature is that they can only contact other people who are on the GUSD domain. So they cannot use this email to contact people that are not in, that don't have a GUSD.net email account. So that's kind of like an in-house district email that they'll use, but it provides an easier access point to, teachers and us and their counselors if they have any direct questions. Next slide, Ms. D. And also the fourth piece of our tool, tools that we're honing in on in the fall is basically what you're on right now, the whole Zoom session. And Zoom is going to be used, Zoom and Google Meets, of course, is going to be used for live instruction. Whereas we mentioned earlier, there's going to be live instruction every day, the synchronous instruction, and teachers will have their meetings and office hours here. It's very crucial that students attend office hours for students. Students attend, because that's when they will be getting the small group or one-on-one kind of interaction that they need. If they have any specific questions, through Gmail they can ask those questions, but it's a different kind of a medium versus having that situation where you can sit down with the teacher and you can ask and answer and have that kind of dialogue. So through these Zoom sessions, there are those, and also through the Zoom sessions, there'll be breakout groups and other kind of situations where the students will be able to work in smaller groups with one another, working on projects, assignments, whatever it is. And, they're very well trained in Zoom already. And we're just looking to take that to another level here in the fall with all their knowledge and all of the knowledge that the teachers have gained, just to make instruction and feedback and all that stuff more rewarding for everybody. One of the important pieces of distance learning that we're trying to hone in on is the social emotional piece. We are well aware that the students need that physical interaction with their peers, with their friends, with adults, with teachers. They have to find that connectedness to school, and that's lacking here on this platform. So we are going to try to do our best to create situations where the students are going to have opportunities to be in touch with their peers or adults and do things that they try to do here at school. For example, we're going to continue to have our clubs and activities like spirit days and core competitions, and have things after school hours optional for students if they want to attend. And if there's a club that your student wants to start and he or she has friends who want to do something together, they can contact an adult, a teacher, one of us, and then we can try to create that situation where they can meet together. Just like, at school, different groups congregate with one another. There's groups who play basketball, there's groups who are in the lunch area, there's groups who are, sitting, in the cafeteria or, on the field. So there's all these different groups, and that's, who their social groups are. So we want to try to create that same kind of situation, distantly. I mean, it's not going to be easy, and there are some, drawbacks and difficulties, but we're going to try our best to do that. Cores, as we talked about earlier, are going to be setting up their own Google Classroom where everybody in that same core can attend and get to know one another and spend some time with different people that they don't usually associate with. Maybe we're going to have community circles. Community circles are basically, they're part of restorative practices, which build, just in a class or with a given group, a connectedness where students get to know one another, on a non-academic basis in the beginning, where, they talk about commonalities and things of that nature, so that there's a culture that's established where students are in tune with each other's, likenesses and things that they have in common versus the differences that they, bring to school. And through that, it's a whole trust building kind of activity where, students kind of feel comfortable with their peers. And then, if any kind of issue arises, students will be more comfortable in expressing themselves because they've had that chance to, get to know their classmates better because of, all of those, ice-breaking activities and those just activities that they've done just to get to know one another better. So we're going to be honing in on these. Teachers will have daily check-ins just to kind of check in with their students to make sure that, their heads are in the right place. That does get lonely on this platform, and it's just, the students are not used to it, although they did go through it in the spring, but still it doesn't, it's not the same as being here at school. We know that. I mean, we feel that as adults. We physically miss the kids, you know what I mean? Even the ones that are getting into trouble all the time, but it's just, that's the way it is. And hopefully with check-ins, the teachers will be able to kind of gauge where students are at, and then, let us know, let administration know, the counselors know, or provide opportunities for them to be able to be in a better place mentally. And, the lunchtime hangouts and the student-led groups, those are, again, what I mentioned earlier, hopefully establish places where students at lunchtime or after school can kind of go to hang out with their friends. And if there's, any kind of group that students want to create, they can let adults know, and then we can, provide that opportunity for them to, get together. Of course, none of these hangouts are places where they're going to be alone. It's always going to have to be moderated because, through Zoom and Google Meets, that's how it is. I mean, there's got to be an adult who's kind of overseeing the situation, but, we'll figure out a way to make it comfortable for them. And hopefully all of these will help students be in a better place mentally come fall.
Thanks, Mr. D. That's good info. We have answered all the questions in the Q&A section, but there's a few questions in the chat. I just want to encourage everyone to use the Q&A feature. It's the little speech bubbles. If you could put your questions there, because that is easier for us to answer directly. Regarding Gmails, parents don't get copy of the students' emails, but students are able to email teachers, and teachers are able to email them. But you have access to if you can have your student log into their inbox, you can certainly see that. Also, someone is asking if we can email the presentation. This presentation is going to be available online in this recorded feature. We're going to put it on our website. I have to get the recording and post it sometime tomorrow, but you'll be able to see it for a reference. So please, if I could direct you to the Q&A, just a little bit more efficient way for us to answer your questions. Ms. Babakanyan, I'm going to continue to kind of update. I'm going to take over your slides so you can do your thing. Thank you. It's all about teamwork, friends. So one of the things that you can do to support your students during distance learning is to really the distinction between your role as a parent. You weren't the teacher. We got that. We're going to be the teacher. We have teachers who will do that work. You're kind of their assistant. You're the one who's kind of monitoring them and helping to manage, but you don't have to be their teacher. If you are struggling to teach middle school math, we can have supports for you. We're going to try and figure out, we're still in discussion of how to work in tutoring time. You'll see in the schedule, we had all those little slots. There were slots in the schedule for students to get extra support. We're going to figure that out for you. There's also some tutoring services that the district has access to on their website that you can link into if you need that. But I think it's really hard as a parent to also be the teacher. That kind of muddies your relationship with your child. So we want to make sure that you feel like you are guiding, but not having to do the instruction. We have teachers who are well-trained and they're going to be amazing for your kids in the next 10 weeks and throughout the whole year. So again, we need to have that current and active email address and phone number for you to make sure that you're getting our messages, getting those teacher messages. It's very frustrating for us if we can't get a hold of you by phone because it's just, we need a way to connect with our parents. So please have that information online in your Parent Connect updated. Google Classroom training again on August 20th. I can't emphasize that enough. If you can't make those training sessions, make sure you access that video, the recording of it, so that you can tap back into it if you need to. Our Titan weekly newsletter goes out every Sunday, and our cores and our teachers are going to be sending out newsletters as well. A tip that a teacher was really emphasizing with her families in the spring was to print that thing out and stick it on your fridge at home, or stick it in front of your students next to their monitor. Use it as a checkoff point for yourself. Again, you don't need to teach the content, you just need to help your student kind of manage the work. We have a YouTube page, we have a YouTube channel thanks to Mr. De La Garza in one of our elective classes. We have a broadcast class. You get to see me broadcasting live from my laundry room with the courtesy of a green screen, announcements every Monday and Friday. We will have a special set of announcements for the first day of school, but typically we're Monday and Friday. We upload that to YouTube. Our teachers will also put it in their Google Classroom streams, so you'll be able to access. That's just a fun way for us to deliver information to families and to students. We do it when we're here on campus, so we're continuing it through distance learning. We celebrate birthdays. We acknowledge students' hard work. I have teachers will send me notes about what students have done in their class so we can acknowledge them. And if they've shown tremendous service or respect in the classroom, we want to honor our Titans for demonstrating great behavior and for being good citizens. We also are able to do small celebrations. So if we have footage of someone that someone submitted, if someone did a fun video, we can include it there. We had a lot of students producing content in the spring. So if you've subscribed to our page on YouTube, you're going to get that in your feed every Monday and Friday. But also you can even go back to the page if you want to see us presenting in June what we were doing. You can access those old videos as well. We opened up a Twitter account and an Instagram, so our Twitter handle is there. Our Instagram is run through our ESB class, our Associated Student Body class. That's a leadership elective that 7th and 8th graders are in, run by Miss Vabanish, one of our teachers, so you'll start to see content there. If you go to the Toll website, which is right here, let's take a look-see. A couple of you were asking some questions. You can see our Toll calendar is right here. If you sync this to a calendar either through any device, whether Android, Apple, or through Google, you can sync these things so that they appear on your calendar as a family. So I know I have my kids, their calendar feeds into my work calendar so I can balance. But also what we've been able to do is so for tomorrow at 11 a.m., you can see all the Zoom information there. So if you lose an email, this might be an easy way to get there. Again, you can add this and sync this to your own personal calendar. You can see that availability right here. Let me go back. Someone was asking if the schedules are posted. They are here, and they're in 4 different languages if you need to access them. Someone asked a great question in the Q&A right now. Toll is a 6-period day. Clark and Roosevelt have 7 periods. We have 6. So you just have to look at that one. You can also see that the district announcements feed through here. Our school announcements come through here. And you can see that all the way through. Here's the Google Classroom Parent Webinar. Here's some information. This is all the flyers that we have going. So you can kind of see that we have a lot of resources here. You can also see the calendar runs alongside the right-hand page. Our name's here as well, and phone number and contact information. If you want to get onto parent or student portal, this is the best way to do it. So you can see, you can go directly through there. Ms. Vallejos, who supports people on the phone all the time with getting into parent and student portal, she says this is the best way to do it is through our website. You can also access our live broadcast up here. So if you haven't already bookmarked us, please do. I'm going to give you a little preview. Our counseling department put together some information. There they are. So you can see our counseling department has put together some things as resources for our students. Okay, lots of good stuff there. So if you have a moment to maybe go through the website with your student, you can do that too. We talked about all these other groups, PTA and Foundation are here as well. Let me go back to our presentation. So speaking of websites, checking our website regularly. Your teachers are going to have websites and cores are going to have websites, so you can kind of see, you can see that link will be available from our homepage. If you are sent, if you have an opportunity to have Google Classroom Guardian emails, please accept those. That'll give you a digest of what your student's doing. What I love about it is I get one email from all the teachers, so it has everything organized out. So I'm not getting 6 emails from my student, I'm getting 1. And if you could respond to staff emails within 48 hours, we're going to do the same. That's something that was agreed to with our GTA, with our teachers union, about how quickly we respond to emails. And teacher office hours, attending those for clarification and support. So what do you do if your child needs help? At middle school, it looks a bit differently. One of the big lessons your child will learn in middle school is not necessarily what they learn in their content classes, but it's going to be how to be their best advocate for themselves. So in elementary school, parents are fundamental because you have to be a voice for your 2nd grader, your 3rd grader. But notice as your child got older, they had their own voice that they could use when they needed help. They will always need you, no matter what. But often what we need to do is train them how to be their own advocate. We are going to do that for you, but we need your support to make it smooth. So kids can reach out to their teachers via email or in the Google Classroom. We are going to teach kids how to use email, how to write an email, how to write an appropriate email. We are going to do that. They'll be able to communicate with their teachers directly. They can do that in Google Classroom as well. If they haven't gotten their needs met in that way, then it's time for you to step in. Email your child's teacher your concern. Please do not call us here at Toll and ask to be connected to a classroom. That is just not the reality right now. Email, email, email. If you need language support, please call us. We can connect you with someone. We have staff members here, but we don't have teachers here on campus. So we can connect you with that language support. If you've spoken to the child's teacher and you need another follow-up, your counselor is your next step. Again, you will have that information on the website. You'll know who the counselor is. Our counselors are going to do presentations for your students about how they can support them. That happens next week. So we'll be able to kind of clean up how we offer that service to them in distance learning. So after all that, if you need one of us, the first point of contact is the assistant principal that it's assigned to the grade level. So that's just kind of order of operations. We want to make sure teachers have the opportunity to answer any questions first, because quite frankly, 90% of the questions can be answered by the classroom teacher. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our Verizon Learning Innovation, Verizon Innovative Learning School program, along with Wilson and Roosevelt. We received a grant at the beginning of the calendar year in January through Verizon, what we call VILS on campus. What does this mean? So for teachers, it means a lot of professional development and how to integrate technology into their classroom. Note that we got this grant before the pandemic hit, before we closed up school on March 13th. So this is just lucky that we have this program going in tandem with now we have this distance learning situation. So what this means for your student is they're going to be receiving a brand new Samsung Chromebook. It comes with a carrying case and a charger. Students are going to receive this the week of the 24th. So something that a lot of parents are like, why don't I have this now? One of the requirements for this program is that students complete a very important digital citizenship set of lessons before they receive their Chromebook. And we also needed you through your Parent Connect re-enrollment process to sign off on a user agreement. Okay? So students are going to be doing digital citizenship next week. Mr. Sanchez is going to be guiding them on how to do those lessons. They need to complete those lessons, and also you need to complete the signature page before we distribute these. So we're going to have a significant amount of time for students to do that next week, and distribution of our books and our materials, including the Chromebook, happens the week of the 24th. You will get all of those schedules this weekend. We are doing it via with social distancing in mind. We're going to do it by core, so it's going to be very well organized. Ms. Babakanian is leading the charge. She did a great job with locker cleanup. So all these Chromebooks, the best thing about the Chromebook is it comes with an internet hotspot. So if you, like everyone else in America, had an internet system that kept crashing because multiple people were on Zooms or using your internet at the same time, this allows you to access the internet without tapping into your home wireless. It is a Verizon wireless account. That doesn't mean that you as a parent need to have Verizon wireless. It's embedded in the device. So once students have the device in their hands, we're going to teach them how to use it, including how to access the internet using this device. So it takes them off your home network, which is great. All of these Chromebooks have a GUSD filter on them. So it blocks social media, inappropriate websites, and all of that. So you don't have to worry about them accessing those things when they should be in school. So those digital citizenship modules are taught through something and distributed to students by an app called Nearpod, which they're going to learn how to use as well. And these are like a textbook. These are not students to keep forever and ever. We get these back at the end of the year. If you have a GUSD Chromebook that you got back in the spring, during that week when you pick up materials, we're going to give you an opportunity to drop those off too. Rather than flood this already information-filled session with details on that pickup day, that week of the 24th, we're going to send you a separate email with very clear instructions on that. So all those details will be answered there. So this Chromebook is great. All of our teachers got them in April, and I was able to use them in my home. So I wasn't clogging up my internet, and it works beautifully. So we're really excited to get these in the hands of students. Even if your student has a personal device that they're already using, they can use this. I will tell you that my setup now in my office and my setup in my home office is I have two laptops. I have this one that I use for Zooms, and I have another one that I use to take notes or to continue to complete documents on. So it's nice to have two screens. You don't need two screens, but it is a nice feature. So don't worry if you went out and bought something over the summer, you still need that. It's still going to give you a little bit of help there. Okay. So I'm going to go back. It looks like we've answered all the questions in the Q&A. If you have a question there, please feel free to drop it in. We had our Spanish translator log on a little bit late and in Zoom webinar, and I'm unable to give them access to that translation feature like I did with the Armenian speaker. So she's on the call right now. So I'm going to let her stay on. She's going to stay on for about 10 or 15 minutes after we wrap up. So if you need anything from this presentation translated, she's going to be available for you. I thank you for your time. This was probably, what did we do? We did an hour 15. That's not bad. This is probably going to be the one we put online because we had 3. So we don't, every one of our webinars was the same. So we're going to probably put this one up. A technical question I want to answer. Does the hotspot need a cell phone? No, it's in here. I'm not a good hardware person, but when you open this up, it gives you an option to join Verizon wireless internet, and that's it. It's all right here. It's pretty magical. Other Chromebooks don't have it. These Chromebooks do because they are through our grant that we have with Verizon. Yes, students can use their own computer, but they should have this device as well. Like I said, it's super helpful to have 2 monitors with 2 different images on it, one for Zooming and one for work. So if that's not a requirement, but definitely you want to make sure that you can utilize it in that way. Also, this Chromebook, again, it doesn't tax your internet, so it's a good way to kind of relieve the pressure on your system at home. So Miss Aurora is on the call. So if you have anything in Spanish, if you can go ahead and type it in the Q&A, we can go ahead and get her available to answer that. Until I see a Spanish question, I'm just going to answer out loud some of the Q&A. Are students able to access their Google account at the same time on the 2 different screens? Yes, they are. Keppel Chromebook, you can drop it off at Toll or the district. If you drop it off here, we'll get it to the district and have it assigned to them. That's fine. So if you didn't put it in the survey that you needed a Chromebook, everyone gets one of these Verizon Chromebooks. But if you need a Chromebook or a device to start the year, we need to know that. And that's what that survey was for. Please call us tomorrow so we can make sure we set you up. But if you're good to start next week and until your child gets this on their distribution day, then you don't need to pick up a device beforehand. Everybody should have this device. We want everyone to have it in their hands because we're going to be using things very specifically. and we want to make sure that you don't need it later. So we are going to give your child one of these when they pick up their instruction materials the week of the 24th. Will lessons be recorded? Some lessons will be recorded by teachers. It's a great question. It's going to be a teacher by teacher basis. A lot of teachers started to record things in the spring because they realized it was so helpful. If you have a school Chromebook from last year, can you keep it with the new Verizon Chromebook? What a good question. That's a good one. I'm going to write that down and follow up for you. So Emily Johnson, if you can send me an email, I will get that answer out to you. Yes, kids, it is required for them to have this device. Answering. Aurora, if you're unmuted, so if you could pop in and say in Spanish that you're available to take Spanish questions in the Q&A.
Buenas tardes a los padres que hablan español solamente. Aquí estoy para servirles si tienen alguna pregunta para la directora o alguno de los dos subdirectores.
So Aurora, you're able to answer the question.
And where can I see the question? I can't see the question.
Right here, if you go in the Q&A and you scroll down.
Okay.
So I'm going to answer some questions that are on screen. Are the new Chromebooks touchscreen? They are. They
are. The question is, what time can they come and pick up the Chromebooks?
We're going to send out a schedule to them via email, and that'll be translated.
Okay. Les van a enviar un mensaje dándoles los horarios cuando se van a entregar los Chromebooks.
So a good question is, do you have to wait to get the Samsung Chromebook to complete the digital citizenship? No, you don't. We actually need students to do that first before they get this. And we're going to guide them through that next week. So I'm just waiting for different questions. So what we do at the end of everything at Toll is we remind people that it's such a great day to be a Titan and we wish you were here. This banner is hanging over our front door, and when I walk into the office every day, it reminds me about how much I miss your kids. I miss them in the hallways. I even miss the trash. I miss the hot Cheetos. I miss it all. So we're hoping to be able to see you guys in person sometime this school year, but for the next 10 weeks, we're going to be doing it this way. So thank you for your time, and we will see you at our next big meeting. Hopefully your students will log on tomorrow. Mr. D and Ms. Babakani, are you guys, Mr. D, are you doing Q&A too right now?
Yeah, all is good.
Okay, keep rolling. Yeah. We're just doing Q&A because they're still coming. Mr. D, do you need help with that question?
Which one, this last one?
Yeah, we picked up 2 Chromebooks from my daughter's high school. You do not have to return them, no. I'm just going to answer these 2 about Chromebooks. If you have a Chromebook, you can still use it. We are going to give every student a new Chromebook. If you already picked one up, hold on to it. Good. Great. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Aurora. Thank you, Angina. Thank you, Bonnie.